We're not live.
Well, I don't know how to do this shit, man. You know that.
You're live
Greetings. Welcome back to Couch Critic, take 2. With me, Dennis P, for what we can call the live edition of the match review. And of course, I'm joined by my boy, Jem from GNA TV. What's going on, big man?
Yeah, all good, mate. You know, same old crap, different day, as they say, innit? But, you know, yeah, just lots to delve into in terms of football. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Who have we got in the chat? Big up Abdul. Nice to see you, brother. Yes. And we got Coachella. Movie star Zahir is in the house. Yes, guys. Thanks for coming through. Please like and share. Make sure that as many people know about this as possible. We do it regardless, but it's always nice to have a little bit of an audience. Who do we got here? Declared jumping. Very nice to see Declared. Yeah, so we played in the Champions League last night, and mixed reviews. What was your initial opinion when you saw the lineup, Jem?
The same that I said on the preview when I said if Nick Blue's formation or system that he picked is right and Tuchel picks it, then I'm slightly worried. And I think we all agreed. It was all like, yeah, man, we can't be having Malang Sarr and Sam Niguez as their left wing backs playing on the left and then have, Barkley in the middle with, to be fair, I think we did. Actually, did he pick Reece James? I can't remember if he picked him in the midfield, but yeah, I knew before the ball was kicked that this is just going to be such a disjointed and poor performance.
The operative word is just disjointed. Like when you have so many guys on the pitch that are just unfamiliar with each other in unfamiliar positions, it's just asking for a disaster. And, we'll get into it because I thought we should probably just start with the defense and just kind of look at what tactically worked and what didn't, if anything worked at all. And, go from there. But one of the major things that I noticed with our defense was just a lack of understanding. And you would expect with Azpilicueta return to the back three that you would get a little bit more leadership, like organization and, just coordinating that back line. And we just didn't get any of that. Christensen, who all obviously is in the middle of that defense and should be marshalling everyone, is just not that sort of football player. He's not the guy that is going to be putting you in position and, shouting out instructions. And I feel like in that position, you kind of need that sort of like leadership there. And he just didn't provide any of it. And even when I think it was the second goal where, they just kind of ran past him. Like you see Malang Sarr, he's not following the line. Like as much as I blame Malang Sarr for not understanding that he has to follow the line, you also have to give instruction there as well, like when to step up and when to play the trap. Everyone else seemed to follow but Malang Sarr, and I'm wondering if that's just because the communication wasn't there between Aspi, Christensen and Malang Sarr.
Yeah, look, Malang Sarr is not good enough for Chelsea. Let's just be serious. He's not that great of a backup. I know people would say that he played well against Brentford, and he did. But in terms of being a consistent, backup option to Rudiger, I don't think is the best one. Aspi, I expected better from Aspi, not going to lie. But you could argue that he hasn't been playing a lot of minutes in games, but at the same time, you still think that with the leadership and the qualities that he does have, that you'd get more from him from that instance, but we didn't get that. And Christensen, I keep banging on about. For me, he's a good defender. There's nothing wrong with him. He is a good defender, but he plays better when he's around people that are better than him in terms of leadership qualities and everything else that you need to be like a Thiago Silva. And like he's a good, like you say, he's a top defender. I just think his levels are lifted when you've got a Thiago Silva in the team who automatically wants he kind of, in the way that he plays the game, he automatically demands a lift, if that makes sense. So when you see Christensen and Rudiger aside of him, it's a lot of the times of that Rudiger, because of Silva's performance levels, that sort of elevates these players. And Christensen, for me, he's at an age like what Xavi's saying here. He's at an age now where he's got to stand up for himself. He's not a kid anymore. He's one of our most experienced players in the team, and I don't know. He just hasn't got leadership skills, and he needs someone next to him. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, and with that said, it seems like because like what we lacked in the middle of the pitch was just an organizer, somebody that can like dictate the play and whatnot. Like you weren't getting that from, Reece James or who's never done that before, or Barkley. So you would expect somebody like Christensen to step into that role and be more of that facilitator and organizer, just given the position that he operated on in the pitch. Like you expect that from him, and you just got none of that. And I really do believe that has a lot to do with the fact that he's just not a natural leader. You put him next to someone, like you said, who is a natural leader. He's more the deputy type, where he can follow instructions. He reads the game quite well. But as soon as you give him the responsibility to be the leader in the back, he just doesn't have the capability to organize a team correctly. And maybe that might be due to the fact that a lot of what he has to do or his entire career, he's never really been given that role to be that leader. And like, because he has so much experience around him all the time, it's kind of like coddled him and not allowed him to just flourish in that role. Even yesterday with Azpilicueta, you expect Azpilicueta to take more of the responsibility and the leadership, and he just didn't, right? Unfortunately. But that whole setup just did not work for me. And it's funny because Azpilicueta has been used predominantly the last little while as a wing back.
Yeah.
And moving him back into the center back position, it feels like he was just a little disjointed because he didn't really play with the organization of a center back. He looked like he was a little more helter-skelter, trying to get up the pitch, trying to find spaces to operate out wide rather than like being compact in the middle. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. Dan said earlier on my channel that he thinks that Aspie might just be done. Maybe he's just getting there. He's getting to that point now where it's like, eventually they start, not saying folding over, but it's just not the same. We're so used to seeing such a level from a player that's been so consistent throughout his career. And I do class him as a legend of Chelsea because he has been that good at our football club. But it gets to a point now, and there's talks already in the transfer markets about Aspie potentially leaving at the end of this season to go Barcelona, and some of the players are shocked. I read today, some of the players are shocked that there's been nothing agreed with him to stay on. So maybe Chelsea, as Chelsea board and Chelsea themselves, are noticing that the levels of performances from this individual maybe it's just not the same anymore, in many ways. And look, if he goes, Rudiger goes, it leaves a lot to be sorted out in defence for me. I know Chalobah's come in. I think Chalobah's come in and he's helped because he's given us another individual we probably would have never known about, and he can play this at this level, which we've seen. But it's just the leadership side of things. You only have Thiago Silva left. Once he goes, even if he commits for one more season, once he goes, then what? Because we've got a very young defence with no experience. Do you know what I mean? It becomes a bit of a question mark in the future.
Yeah, and even if you bring somebody in who you deem to be a leader, like to come into this Chelsea dressing room and just command that sort of respect right from the get-go is asking a lot. It's asking a lot. So, yeah, I agree. If we do lose, I just feel like Aspie, as much as he's not really a vocal leader, to be honest. Like, I think that what's lacking from his game right now is the fact that he used to just be the guy that you can see on the pitch and use as a reference point for the level that we have to play at, because he never really dropped below that.
Yeah.
So you could look to him for leadership because he never really plays a game that's like subpar.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing lately is his performance levels has dropped, and thus his leadership skills have dropped out as well. Because if he can't give you that 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 performance, then the leadership aspects just wanes in that respect. And with respects to like Malang Sarr, like I don't even know if there's anything good to say about this guy really. Like he hasn't played a lot, but man, like he's just not Chelsea quality, you know. And I know that at the beginning of the year, the plan wasn't to have him into the squad, and needs must again, you know, brought him back into the fold. But again, I think when we analyze this game, it just outlines how poor our summer was. You know, we're talking about Jules Koundé, we sell Zuma, and the notion was Jules supposed to come in and, you know, fulfill that role, the role of fourth, fifth defender until, you know, something else happened, and then we don't get in Jules Koundé, and we're left with Malang Sarr to deputize for Rudiger. And you know, all of that just culminated yesterday. Like you can just see the frustration on Tuchel's face. Like this guy had no positional awareness. He did not understand how to read what was happening within the defense. Like when, again, with that second goal, like that's his error. As much as you can say Christensen didn't track the run, he doesn't have to. If you're reading the line and everyone stepped up and he's the only one playing the guy on side, that's his error, and that's just inexperience. And at this level with Chelsea, you can't have that sort of inexperience in your back line.
I think yesterday overall reminded me of Sunday League football, as we'd say in the UK. Like it was so. And even Xavi said there, he said headers back into the centre of the box is school. Literally, the amount of times, I think Soundaga's done it once, where the ball came to his right foot and he just scuffed it and it just went straight up in the air. It didn't even go.
That was for the goal, wasn't it?
In the box, just come back down. Yeah, that led to the goal, didn't it? Yeah, I mean, yeah. You know, it is literally. You wouldn't think that these players are professionals. Like honestly, they're getting paid all this money when they're doing stuff like that. Like this is basic stuff that you learn when you're playing, you know, at a lesser level than what you are now. I don't know. I just think that the one big thing, Couch, that I found out from yesterday is that the quality, you can have squad depth, and that's cool, but it's not always about the depth. It's the quality of that squad depth, and the quality that we've currently got in certain positions is just not good enough for this system for me, and that's where we've been found out to a degree.
I mean, with the center backs, I don't think that we lack depth. I just think that we've overworked a lot of guys.
Yeah.
You know, because our preferred back three would probably Thiago Silva in the middle. You'd probably play Christensen on the right, and then you play Rudiger on the left, right? And for cover, you have Azpilicueta and Chalobah. And who knows? Like some might even say that Chalobah is, you know, rivaling for a spot in that top three right now, anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if we lack the cover there. It's just when you get to the true depths of your squad and you're bringing on Malang Sarr to play, you know, in the Champions League, I don't know if any team that could actually, you know, produce talent that far down their roster.
Oh, we definitely mucked up in the transfer window. Like our aim was to get Jules Koundé, and hence why we let Kurt Zouma go. I still think part of the reason we let Kurt Zouma go is because we was getting Koundé, and then Sevilla pulled out that wild card and completely mucked up everything by asking for the full value of Koundé, which was not in the agreement. And then we were stuffed because then it was like, right, we haven't got any backup now. What do we do? And then you look at Malang Sarr, who's just come back from loan from Porto, and you think, do we just give him a chance and see what he's like in training? Let Tuchel see how he gets on. The truth at the end of it is, and it's a bit like Barkley as well. I know we're going to get to him later, but the reason these players are at our football club is because we've not been able to probably get rid of them, and they're just stuck here with us because they're on contract. That is literally the truth behind it all, and we haven't been able to replace it with anything better as well. So, it is.
Should we get into that now? Because I think the back three. I should say that I thought Kepa had a decent game. His distribution was pretty good. I mean, we can talk about the goals, but I mean, he didn't really get a whole lot of support. Even that the third goal, there was absolutely no screen there, like nothing. But I thought he had a decent game.
I still think though that when teams see, big up to Sportswire. Are you at the 200 mark? I didn't even know that. Well done, man. Big up
with your help, man. You didn't know?
Nah, come on. Big up to Couch. Let's get him to 300 now, man. Let's get him to that 500 mark. 500 mark is the next aim for us. But I do think, though, when Kepa's in goal and you're the opposition, you're more confident in taking shots from far out because you know that if it's a good one like it was yesterday and it is, near him. So it was kind of, for me, he's still kind of, if that was Mendy's arm, if you took Kepa's arm off and put Mendy's arm on Kepa, he would have saved that.
Do you think that the reaction time is, because I feel like Kepa has an incredible reaction time. It's just like he doesn't have the physical ability to, But again, you could say the same thing for Mendy. Mendy's reaction time is pretty incredible too. You see the Benzema saves and whatnot. And
he is a good shot stopper, Kepa. Like you saw that save he done at the header on the corner when he got down. That was great. The way he picked that out from the bottom. That could listen. That game he saved us a number of times. That could have been 3-1, 4-1, even before we'd even tried to get back in the game. You think about when their player ran through on goal and he tried to pass it into. He sort of stuck his left leg out and stopped it. But there was a number of times where we called upon him yesterday and he stepped up. So yeah, maybe he could have saved the third goal and we would have won that game. But at the same time, it's hard to really criticize him too much.
I can't really criticize that performance based on the amount of big saves that he made to keep us in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the potential of him playing in January doesn't really fill me with a lot of confidence. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say what you get from that guy.
Yeah. No,
but let's move on. Let's move right into the midfield because there's a lot to talk about there.
Yeah,
a lot. So let's start with Ross Barkley since you did mention him. Like I thought he was invisible the entire game. I didn't see anything from his performance in the midfield that made me feel he was capable or even like present on the pitch. Like he never really doesn't even really have the industry to get up and down the pitch. Doesn't really like try to get things ticking over. He's more of just like a dribbler, a true number 10, like a guy that wants to get into the final third and like try and play through balls there and whatnot. But like outside of that, he doesn't do the things that you want in the midfield. And I'm talking about win tackle. I'm talking about like track runner. I'm talking about like get forward, move the ball quickly. I'm talking about like connecting with your teammates, building a strategy, a structure, So, if you're on the ball, you're looking for the second and third move to get somebody in behind. Like he's not a metronome. He's just. I don't want to keep going on. I know you have lots to say about him, but
before I go into the negatives, because there's always loads of negatives about Ross Barkley. Where he is good is just outside the opposition's box, linking plays with the 1-2s. And you saw it for the second goal where Werner passed it to him and then he gave it back to him straight behind, which then he passed to Lukaku, who then scored the goal. That's where you want Ross Barkley to be effective. He's effective in them type of positions in games. And I just feel it's hard because there was a lot of players that just got played out of position yesterday for me. And it's hard to criticize them when you know that they're just not that, if you know what I mean. They're being played in a position where they're just not that. And Ross Barkley, for me, whoever thought to even think of putting him as a 6, I know you could say, we were limited and we didn't have the numbers and whatever. But when I looked at that bench, we definitely could have played a better team than what we put out. I don't care what anyone says. That we could have done better in terms of the balance of that team. And Ross Barkley, to be a 6, you have to have energy. You have to be mobile. You have to be everything of that. And
smart. You have to be smart.
You have to be smart. You have to anticipate, intercept. There's a lot to that. There's a lot to that role in the middle. And Ross Barkley isn't a guy that's going to run around the pitch chasing balls down, hounding people, sliding, picking the ball up. He's good with the ball with his feet, and he'll play a nice ball. But he got caught on the second goal. He was mucking around too much with what he wants to do with it, and they intercept it to him, play it behind Christensen, and go. And it just, for me, he shouldn't be there. You're literally playing with one person in midfield when he's playing there because he's just not meant to be there. He doesn't understand the role well enough or have the ability to play that role well enough in the first place to be there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. If you utilize him in your team, you want him in the final third because you think that he's got a pretty decent shot and he can actually lace a through ball. But everything else that comes with playing in the midfield, he does not possess it. And, we could question Tuchel, and I will, because
Yeah.
for a guy that's a tactician, understands the strengths and weaknesses of his side, it made no sense for me to have Mason Mount play further up the pitch into the 10, and then play Barkley in the 6-8, however you want to look at it. Because for me, Mount is much more capable of playing in that role. May not have the physicality, but in terms of like understanding, the awareness, like defensive, offensive awareness, he's miles clear of Barkley. So for me, that was a tactical error from our manager, playing him there. And it's just unforgivable, because like seeing Ross Barkley.
He's just not Chelsea quality. He's another one. I'm sorry. I know people try and stick up for him and say, yeah, well, he gives us something different and whatever, but he doesn't play enough to give us something different. It's a bit like Malang Sarr. Like, he doesn't play. If everyone's fit, where does he get in the team? Even if you make a substitution, there's a number of players.
But isn't that the point though? Like, Jim, you're saying that, but like, that's the point. Like, the fact that guy's like our 6th or 7th midfielder means that we have a really strong team. We're not really depending on him to give us performances unless we have a plethora of injuries. Like, he wasn't even supposed to be at the club this year. So I'm thinking about it from the perspective, like, we have Jorginho, Kovacic, Conte. You can probably even say Ruben.
Yeah.
Sal Niguez is supposed to be 5th, I guess. We'll get into that. But of all those names, like, Ross isn't ahead of any of those, so he's at the very bottom of the barrel. And again, if you look at teams across Europe, you'd be hard pressed to find a 6th midfielder that is at least somewhat okay, like Ross Barkley can be.
Yeah, and that's it is. I mean, it's just painful, isn't it? Really, and I agree though. He's our 6th choice. We don't really have. We ain't really calling upon him once we have a fully fit squad, and maybe we just have to take it on the chin and just say, it is what it is, and hope that everyone gets fit and gets back in the team sooner rather than later. Because I can't do another couple of games with Ross Barkley playing as a 6, even though supposedly Ruben Loftus-Cheek's injured, which is another.
I mean, that display was enough to just say I'm binning that. I'd rather put Azpilicueta in there than see Ross Barkley back in. Like, seriously, it doesn't matter. Like, Ziyech could play there for me before Ross Barkley goes back in there. To be honest, like,
the thing is, I actually think Reece James and Ruben would be all right, because at least Ruben can like just go forward and be progressive and actually get back and do a better job in that position, I think, than what a Barkley would do. And at least Reece James can just sit more. Do you know what I mean? And you'll have them two working more together in between. That's what I would do.
If the option was Reece James or Ross Barkley, it's Reece James. Like, I'm just being honest. But in terms of Reece James, I don't think that he has the awareness to play in the midfield. Like, as much as he's world class, as far as I'm concerned, as a wing back, that wide midfielder, I don't think that in the engine room, the true engine room, I don't think that he has the awareness to dictate play for us. And I know that was supposed to be Ruben, but at the same time, like, what we saw from Reece James left a lot to be desired for me in terms of what we require from our two midfielders. He was good at picking passes when in space. He was good at, like, somewhat defensively aware, not really, to be honest. And the things that we need from that mid position is just move the ball quickly, anticipate the next pass, move into space to collect the ball again. And these are the types of things that are just lacking in the game. Like, if he'd make a pass and just sit, make a pass and just sit. And when you have a guy like Jorginho or even like Gilmore, they're always moving, always looking to get on the ball. And that's essentially what was lacking yesterday.
For me, Reece James he's definitely anywhere on the right I'm cool with. I mean, he can do a job in the middle, and with the ball at his feet, he's decent. The thing that caught me the most with him was his positional play it's not good enough as to be as a central midfielder. When you look at the gap between the defence and midfield, it's just too big, especially when he's in there. And they broke the lines too easily, too many times, and there was just so much space there. And he wasn't even. I know we bang on about Barkley, but even at some times, Reece James wasn't even there to cover. When you would expect him to be the one that was like sort of guarding the back, if you know what I mean, and just. I don't know. I felt a lot of players that played yesterday weren't really comfortable doing the jobs that were asked to do. That's what I felt, if you know what I mean.
No, that's exactly what it was. I mean, in Reece's case, you said it right on. Like I'm thinking about how play comes to you in the midfield versus out on the wing. Like if you're a half step slow at the wingback position, chances are you're not necessarily going to be punished or exposed. But in the midfield, especially the six, if you're a half step out and the play's coming in, you're in a world of trouble. And I think that's where he found himself in, because, and I know I keep banging on about this, but I'm hoping that you agree with this. Players will always resort to type in whatever role you put them in. Like it's instincts this game. And if you're not instinctually a midfielder, you don't think the game at that pace, then you're going to be caught out. And like those half seconds, those little details are the things that he did not possess in that midfield, and it costs us, because where on the wing back position where he's he's able to make a mistake, recover, has time to catch up. You can't do that in the midfield. So that half a second on the wing back position is not the same as the half a second in the midfield. It does. Yeah, go ahead.
It does show how much we miss, how important cover. The one thing I don't think any of us realize. I mean, we knew that they were important. What's he saying? Players always resort to type. A Couch Critic proverb. Yeah,
it's so true. Right. So true. Right.
We always knew that Kante, Kovacic, and Jorginho not being the team could give us an issue, but I don't think we fully understood to what effect until we saw this game. And let me tell you something: if you're not a midfielder that understands how the role of a midfielder, a central midfielder, then you can't play that position. And it goes back to, even if we had Kovacic, in that team, I think you wouldn't have had half of the crap that we had yesterday going on, because he would have understood his role better, his positioning better. And I actually think with one of them three, maybe next to a Reece James, I think Reece James just needed one of them next to him, really. It would have been fine, because they would have helped him. Do you know what I mean? They would have maybe gone, Jorginho in his ear, get back, what are you doing? No, go. I'll stay. Go. You can't do. You're not getting that from Ross Barkley. He's just jogging around doing his own blimmin' world a lot of the time. Do you know what I mean?
I kid you not. I did not even notice him on the pitch, other than when he made an error. I'm not even kidding. I did not notice him.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, we should. Man, the elephant in the room, though, man. Can you just explain to me the point of having Saul Niguez in the team? Just explain what he brings and what he's supposed to deliver and what he was doing on the pitch at left wing back yesterday.
Well, we always knew that Tuchel was going to test it, because he always spoke about the potentials of him playing there. I just thought he wouldn't do it, that he did, and he did in a game where we needed to finish first. And I still thought that this game was important yesterday. That's why I was a little bit annoyed with Tuchel in terms of the lineup, because I wanted to finish first. I don't like finish second in anything. I don't know about you. I hate the feeling of finishing second.
I'm a Chelsea fan. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, so the fact that we finished second just annoyed me a little bit. But in terms of Saul Niguez, I mean, other than I think the first 2 minutes when he ran through he was in the box. He ran. I thought, whoa! I thought, is that Chilwell? I thought, the way he was running, he looked so quick as well. I was like, whoa! Is this it? It's like, I thought Tuchel had found something. I was like, is this where he wants to play? I've never seen him run so quick. And then the game started going on and on and on. And I'm sitting there and I'm trying to be patient with him, because I'm like, right, I know he's not meant to be there, but let's just see if he can actually, offer something maybe better than what Alonso offers, because we know Alonso's offering is not that great anyway. Can he do something a little bit better than that? And his positional awareness, there isn't that left side. if there was a better team, and I'm talking about levels of like Aston Villa, if that was Aston Villa, for example, yeah, they would have beat us by 2-3 goals just because of that left side. Like it was non-existent with him and Sarr. Like there was there was a point where they both were chasing one. I think it was Malcolm, right, from Zenit. He had the ball. They're both chasing after this one guy into the corner flag, which is fine. You're doubling up on him, and you end up running into each other, and then he's free, and it's like, I'm like, surely this is just. And I was just honestly, it was comical. Like I was sitting there just laughing every time it come down the left. I was just laughing like, this is unbelievable because this is this is just not Chelsea. And Saul Niguez for me is not Chelsea. He's not a Chelsea player. He's not good enough. He's actually, for me now, becoming a burden more than anything because we've got this player with a name that's well known across world football. And used to be 2-3 years ago, used to be prospected as one of the the biggest young talents coming up from La Liga into Europe. He had a little niggle injury and he came back and he was just never the same. And even at Atletico, he was never the same. You can see from his stats and everything about his game. It was affected mentally. And you come to the Premier League compared to the La Liga, you're going to get eaten up, man. It's two different things. You ain't getting time on the ball. He wants time on the ball. He thinks he can do what he wants when he wants with the ball. It don't work like that, man. You've got to be thinking quick 24/7. He don't offer anything is what I'm trying to say. He runs around. He gives silly fouls away. He holds the ball too long. He ends up losing it. He tries to win balls in the air, which is supposedly meant to be good at. He even struggles to do that. Sometimes I just want him to use his left foot, whip the ball around the back to like a Lukaku or something. Because he had, people, with a left foot.
He did have space at times to put those crosses in, but just never did.
He didn't. And when he did do, like, try and knock it forward, he knock it out for throw-ins. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, are you going to be giving us anything? Is there anything that you can actually do or give us, And I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, Couch.
I mean, you pretty much summed it up. I don't even know where to begin with this performance. Like, granted, I understand that it's not his natural position. And as much as many were banging on, he played at Atletico Madrid, he can come in and give us some minutes there. The way Atletico Madrid uses their midfielders versus how we're using our wingbacks, completely different. Completely different. What you require in that position is an unbelievable amount of versatility. Like somebody can get forward, get back, awareness, obviously. I'm listening to myself in my headphones and it's like echoing. So I'm like, but obviously overlapping ability, the ability to just link, get into the box, all of these things is just, he doesn't do that, and we're not asking him to just sit in a back five and just soak up space. Like he has to do a lot on that flank.
You know what though, Couch?
He's just not capable of that.
Just to finish off on him, right? When you think about it, we did kind of sacrifice him in playing him in that position because you know how much I bang on about how important them wing-backs are and how the system works through them wing-backs. Like the wing-backs position is such a important, integral position in this system. And when you're sacrificing a player like Saul Niguez, who hasn't even got any form whatsoever, can't even play in midfield, and you're asking him to play in one of the most important positions in our system. And
what does that say? What does that say about what Tuchel thinks of him? If we needed a midfielder and he's playing Saul Niguez out of position to get him out of that position because he didn't want to see him in the midfield. He's like, I'd rather see you over somewhere on the left flank because if I put you in the midfield right now, you're going to get overrun and killed. And the thing that was killing me about that guy the most was even when he got beat, it wasn't like he was like trying to herald to get back into position. He was just like jogging real casually. I'm like, do you understand what's going on the pitch right now? You just got exposed and you're not trying to get back in position.
The only time he actually sprinted was at the 2 minutes in when he nearly scored and he even mucked that up because all he had to do is chip the goal. He had the ball at his feet. He wasn't even stretching.
There were times where I saw him, he was like parallel with the attacker. I think it was Claudinho or something like that.
Yeah.
He was parallel with him when Claudinho got the ball. And then when Claudinho started to advance, he got 5 yards. Like an easy 5 yards on. I'm like, where is this guy playing, man?
Send him back, man. So,
it's crazy.
Just send him back, and we need to. I keep saying we need to spend money in them positions anyway, both sides, right and left for me. So we'll have to see.
So on the other flank, we did have Callum Hudson-Odoi, and he's not a wing back. I've been saying that for the longest time. He's not a wing back, and clearly does not want to play there. So
I'm just going to keep it short and sweet because we know the answer to that one. Like we know that Callum Hudson-Odoi is not a wing back. You're not going to get the same level of performances that you've been getting from him playing him there. And to be honest, even in his performance, he looked dejected and annoyed that he was even there. He wasn't even running back. He was he left Aspie exposed. He wasn't even getting back. It was just like he couldn't be bothered to be in that position. It's like as if he was annoyed about something. But he wasn't good whatsoever. And even when he did get the ball, he didn't do anything with it. Like I don't know what he was doing out there, to be honest.
And like the calamity of errors on a few of those goals were just down to people just not being switched on. Like he should have closed out the cross for the header, did not. And we get punished. These are just the details. When Tuchel talks about details, these are the things he's talking about. The intensity level not being high enough, and so a simple closeout is not even being executed on the pitch from guys that you expect to do that for that. So
Thanks.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah, it is what it is, isn't it? There's not much more to say other than I keep saying if Reece James can't play there or Chilwell can't play, we need to have players that can come in and play at least not to the same level, but at least close to it. Because you've got to be able to get forward, you've got to be able to get back, you've got to be able to tackle, you've got to be able to get in the box and score, you've got to be able to assist. It's a really niche position, man, and we haven't got anything other than Reece James and Chilwell that can do that.
Yeah, and maybe that's the time that we need to start thinking about what we're going to do in January, because for me, I don't think. Well, let me say it this way: we're going to see what the ambition is of this club in January, because there's no question about it. We have to address the wingback position in January. If we have any aspiration for the title, Champions League, any sort of cup games, we have to address that in this window. And if the club has the intent to compete at the highest level, they will go into the transfer window and buy Tuchel a left wing back and potentially even a right wing back, or somebody can cover both flanks.
Yeah, I agree. The issue I have is that going into January, you don't really see many signings happen. You might see that we call people back, certain individuals from loan, if we do really struggle to get certain individuals back in due to injuries and stuff. But we might buy we might be able to buy one, like maybe a Tchouaméni. Maybe
if you're going to buy anybody, like
40,
I would
50
think
million.
Koundé would be the better buy.
I just don't think they'll let him go. That's the thing. He's a high profile. Seville, I don't know where they are. If they're in the Champions League, Europa League, if they're back up,
they're out of the Champions League.
They're out.
Oh, you mean the spots?
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, in terms of Koundé actually leaving in January, he'd have to force it in January. I just think it would be more of a summer transfer than it would be January. That's what I'm saying. It's hard January. You can't just go, right, I want you and you all to come now in January when these clubs are playing in certain competitions in certain places of the league.
Yeah,
these are important players.
Traditionally, I would say it would be hard because before it would be based on you want players that are capable of playing in the Champions League, and there was that rule that you'd be cup tied, and you wouldn't be able to join another team in the Champions League if they came knocking, whatever. But that rule doesn't exist anymore. I just think that if you put enough money up, like, so say for instance we're looking at Gosens or whatever, where's he at, Inter Milan? If you pony up enough money, they're gonna take him. They're gonna take it because he leaves in June anyways. He's not re-signed. So I just think there's an opportunity there to address this. And if we don't, we're going to be, it's not going to be a good end to this season. But this is the exciting part of the stream here, because we're going to be talking about the attackers who I thought man to man, all had decent games. When you look at Lukaku, well, maybe not a decent game, but he scored. And for me, when a striker scores a goal, he's somewhat fulfilled his duties on the pitch. But we did see a brace from Werner, and Mason Mount was okay. Didn't really give me a lot in the final third. But there was the third goal, which I thought was the best one, where there's just so much interplay between him and Ziyech, and then into Pulisic, and then, then into Werner for the finish. Good. And man, that was a beautiful goal. But I want you to speak about Werner, because I know this is something you've been itching to talk about.
It is a team with Werner. I don't actually, people might think that I'm like a defender of him or saying, and like I really rate him highly and stuff, but it's not that. I just get really frustrated with our fan base when we're over the top about certain players. And like when you're saying he's useless, he's nothing, he's this, you got to come up and back it. And all they say is, well, he can't dribble. Well, fine. It's his weakness. Every player has a weakness. You're talking about saying that he's not good at doing that. That's cool. Yeah, but he needs to score goals. Yeah, we all know that he needs to score more goals. And look, the goal that his third goal that he scored against Zenit reminded me of Leipzig Werner, because I remember him scoring so many goals for them where he used to just shimmy in quickly to his right and just hit it first time. The thing I want him to do now is to continue that, because when he doesn't think about it, you get that kind of reaction. And that's where I think, this is why I always say he can score goals. People go, no, he's not a goal scorer. He can score goals. He needs to not act. He needs to act on his instinct and not act on, not slow it down and try and process it. Like there's many times where he's in front of goal and he's like, okay, what do I do? Do I shoot? Do I pass? Am I going to shoot? And by the time he decides to do whatever he's going to do, it's done, because he's thinking about it too much. Like, just do it. Bang, do it. Just keep doing it. Don't forget it. Even if it goes over the bar, I think people will notice if he starts doing that, he'll notice that he will get a lot more going for him than what he has had, especially last season. And yesterday, for me, especially in the second half, I thought he carried the team to a degree, because he wasn't great the whole game. Don't get me wrong. He had his little moments still with the ball at his feet. He'll lose it and whatever. Fine. But it was his willingness to not stop. And I felt like a lot of players that were playing on that team yesterday were just done. They just couldn't be bothered. They were running around, jogging around, couldn't be bothered. And when you look at his attitude, when he did get the ball, trying to link up, make 1-2s, run behind, I saw him defending at some points. He was in midfield. He was literally next to Reece James trying to win the ball back, because he knew that the team was suffering. It just was out of rhythm. It was out of balance. He had Timo Werner trying to tackle people. Do you know what I mean? And try and win balls back and then get back up the pitch to help Lukaku. I think it benefits Lukaku as well, because I think it takes the pressure off him. Him have actually been, not that he can't be a
release. Yeah,
it's a release, exactly. And when you look at the second goal, the link play between him, Werner and Barkley, back to Werner, and then Lukaku just on his own, like, yeah, give me the ball, I'm going to score. That's where I think Lukaku thrives the most. Give him the ball, he's in the box and he's free, because he'll put it in the back of the net. As with Werner, you're not sure if he's going to actually be able to do that all the time.
No, he thinks the game too much there, and instinctual.
Exactly. If Werner scores goals, but then sets Lukaku up a ton of goals like he did yesterday, I'll still say Werner's important to this team, because
I think you're right in that respect. Like, I think because he gets into such great areas, you want to see him score.
Yeah.
Because anyone else in that position, you'd expect them to score. So. And I think that he had a good game yesterday. He had a really good game as far as I'm concerned. Not just because of the goals, because he got into great areas, and him and Lukaku actually had a good, understanding of each other on the pitch. Like,
you can tell when they talk to each other constantly.
Always.
They're constantly talking to each other. I've seen it. Always grabbing him. I saw Lukaku going like that to him, and they're going, yeah, like they're talking. I like that. Do you know what I mean? It's
and
like
even when they missed opportunities when to see each other, you can see the communication was still there as well. Yeah. But I thought that the reason why I was really excited about from what I saw from Werner was the fact that of course the interplay with him and Lukaku, but like when he got his first goal, you can tell his confidence level just spiked. And like sometimes that's all you need as a striker, just something to just fall off of you and fall in the net just to get the monkey off your back. And then as the game progresses, you can grow on that confidence. And that's what we saw, because the next goal that he got was just bang, 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 bang. And as much as like technically, I don't think that he struck it that well. He kind of just toe punted it.
Well,
but you know,
I don't care.
I don't either. Yeah. I don't either. But you know, technically, you want your striker to, you know, put his foot through it and then just strike it. But as long as they go in that, I don't care. I thought he had a great game and is probably the man of the match. And not only because of the goals, like some of his runs were incredible. Again, when Lukaku held up the ball and tried to play him through, got him in a couple times. I thought he made intelligent runs. But aside from that, if we can move into Lukaku, like I know he scored and he played in a few guys, and you know he probably should have assisted Mount's goal. I don't think that he had a great game. And the reason is when he releases the ball into space for these guys, I never saw him try to follow up. Like he played Werner in, and you'd expect, like, Werner's not going to be able to go 1 versus 3. You know, you'd expect to see the follow up, and then Werner would hold it up in the box, and then like maybe 10, 15 seconons later, you see Lukaku come into the picture, and you're like, where are you, man? Like, you're supposed to be in there, right?
Yeah,
he just didn't really play as a striker for me. You know, somebody that wants to get into the box and score goals. Just seemed really lazy on the pitch again. And, you know, he scored. It's going to help his confidence going into the weekend. And hopefully that, you know, have a knock-on effect for a season. But I don't think that he gave us a lot past that one goal that he scored.
I remember watching that game, and Lukaku, that moment specifically when you said that Werner was in, and he ended up losing the ball. And I was watching the game, and I was sitting next to my missus because she was watching the game. Okay, where I'm shouting out Werner, Lukaku, and whatever. She's starting to pick up the players, and she's like watching as well. And I'm like, he gets the ball, and I'm like waiting, I'm looking, he got the camera picture, and I'm like, and I'm screaming at the TV, where's Lukaku?
Yeah,
where is he? And it's not that. It was like Werner got the ball and he lost it straight away. He had the ball and he's looking around and there's no one there, and he's like trying to hold it, and then there's 3 players in front of him, and then you see Lukaku just jogging, not even running to help run where the space was, which what Werner would have done. If that was Werner, he would have been in that space trying to get behind. You know, it's like he's jogging and then he's going like this to Werner, like say, like give me
the ball. Yeah. Like, what do you get into an area where he can't give you the ball? Yeah. What are you talking about? And like mad. That's the other thing about like Lukaku's game that I'm not really too key on. Like he's always asking for the ball. Like, give me the ball, and it's like in the most inopportune positions.
Yeah.
Like there's times where he's offside and he's asking for the ball in behind. Like, what are you? What are you talking about? You're not outside.
Even my missus,
for the ball in behind.
Yeah, even my missus, she don't watch tons. She watches the football because of me. I'm always watching it, but she don't really watch it. But at that moment, she was watching the game, and she went. She knows Lukaku. She was like, he's so lazy. So she said, like, why? And she went, Werner. And she said, Werner's literally doing everything this game. She went to me. And this is a woman that don't watch football. She's like, this Werner guy, he's everywhere. Like, he just needs support. And literally, he got in the box and he's looking around and there's no one there for him to run it into. And I'm just like, Lukaku, you bang on about, like, we bang on about, like, he needs to score goals and we need to create for him. But the player himself's got to get himself in them positions for him to be able to score. You can't just give him the ball because he wants it and he's 20 yards outside the front of goal and just think he can score from there. He needs to make the effort, you know, get beside him. You know, as much as Werner does with you got to do the same. And maybe that will come with a bit of time. Do you know what I mean? But I agree. I think he's very predictable. Does that make sense? Like you know, like when you play.
I wouldn't even call it predictable though, because.
No, but when I mean predictable,
I'm getting in the box and I'm trying to get on the end of that.
When I mean predictable, I mean you can tell by his movement. You know, like you know that he needs to be in that position that's behind the fence in the space. But you know, 9 times out of 10, he's not going to do that, and he's just going to say, "Give me the ball here," and I'll pay you back into that space. Like what I'm saying is, if you're a defender, you look at that and you go, right, if he's there and he's in front of me and I can see him and he's not doing that, then he's quite I know where he is. He's predictable. Yeah, he's stationary. I can see it.
I would say that he telegraphs a lot of his runs as well. Like he doesn't really, like even when he does get in a position where he's bending runs and whatnot, it seems like it's just telegraphed. Like this is my run. It's going to go like this,
that way,
and then I'm going to go here. Like he's a big guy. I guess you can't really ask for a lot of agility out of him, but I would just like to see him bend a little bit more runs and be a little bit more unpredictable in the box. Like this is what, when we're talking about intelligent movement, this is what we're talking about. Like somebody that can just like weave in and out.
I'm sorry, from what I've seen so far, and I always say, I know people get upset when I say this, but from what I've seen with him in the box, especially when we have our wingers with the ball coming in, he's so static. He wants the ball to just land at his feet, and then he wants to like scraffle with it and shoot. Like that's what it doesn't go right. Let me just go that way, bring him a bit to the right, and go behind him. And I know that Reece James is going to play that ball in that space. So what I'll do is I'll shimmy that way. And you know what I mean? Like that's what a striker should be doing. Like thinking of ways to make space for himself. That's the word. He doesn't make space for himself.
That's a great point. But I think even with that comes with understanding of who's creating opportunities for you as well. Like because I think that we just haven't seen a natural connection between Lukaku and any of the guys that would be servicing him. No. And I think because he knows that doesn't exist is probably why he's being so stationary. This is where I'm going to be. Pass it to me here, rather than trying to bend my runs, get near post, back post, because I just feel like until you have that understanding on the pitch, you're not going to have any sort of like cohesion or connection.
But his movement was better when Kovacic was on the pitch. You remember that goal he scored where Kovacic broke the lines and he passed it, and it was because he made that bend, bendy run into behind.
But maybe him and Lukaku and Kovacic have that understanding already. He knows that when I'm making this movement, that means play it between, in the channel there. And like, I don't think that we have that with anybody else right now.
Maybe Werner, but in a different way. It's a different kind of link up, isn't it? In terms of they try and break through. But yeah, I agree. I agree. It's a bit.
As you say, breakthrough. I thought that was the breakthrough. Like they linked up pretty well today, but or yesterday. But
they did before they got injured, and that was my thing. When everyone was saying, "Oh, Werner, that he's not been good," Lukaku, I was like, but we actually started to see something with Lukaku and Werner before they got injured, and then they both got played against Malmo. Lukaku would have scored against Malmo.
Yeah. Oh, he would have scored
probably
would have scored against Malmo.
Yeah, Malmo. I mean, even Werner may have got a 1 or 2 as well. But my point is, like, we need to see more of it. Like, people were just squishing it and saying, "No, I don't want to see Werner and Lukaku." Why? Like, from what I've seen, I think it's an option.
Yeah, this is going to be to show the negative, but people are getting a bit hyped from Zenit. They're having a fun game and a pretty open, which is massive contrast. Yeah, but you know what? You still, especially when you're using like the depth of the squad, you want to see performances. I think Tuchel, and we're going to get into this because I think this is an important thing to touch on. The lineup that he selected led to the down tools on the pitch. Yeah. Because if you see what's happening there, if you see who he's selecting, you're thinking, well, he's not even taking this game seriously. Why should I? Sal Niguez is at left wing back. Like as a player, it would demotivate you to see people playing in positions that are just unfamiliar to them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why I said about the attitude and the movement of certain individuals yesterday, like Callum Hudson-Odoi not tracking back, Barkley just plodding along in the midfield because he just doesn't understand that role. He's not meant to be there. Sal Niguez is the same, just doesn't understand the role. But, it just looks comical in many times down that left. There was no balance. There was no, for me, the system wasn't the issue. I keep saying this. I don't want, the system's fine. It's the personnel that were playing in that system that was the issue.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So I'm at the point, I mean, it's needs must. We can't really fault Tuchel for not having a full complement of players, but did he put the players in the best position to win the game?
No,
I don't think so either. And for that reason, I have to fault him for the loss, because his job as a manager is to get the guys, whoever it is, like whether it's a youth player, whatever, put them in the best position to succeed. And I don't think that he did that with, the Sal Niguez, Reece James, Callum. Like, you can go on and on. Malang Sarr, didn't put him next to a leader.
Since he's come into Chelsea, he's made little decisions to play certain players, and we've always been like, "Oh, why is he doing that?" And it's paid off. The problem you got, the issue you got with that, and what we're doing now, is that he's making too many different changes. Before it was that little one here and there, and we'd get away with it, and they'd play quite well and be like, "Oh wow, we won 2-3-0. It was a good performance. Nothing looked different. Everyone done their job. Even he did well." But when you make that many different changes to your system, I'm sorry, you're asking for problems. Like, I don't care who you are.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Was yesterday an opportunity to maybe try a different shape?
Oh,
potentially,
yeah.
potentially. I mean, you can say go back forward. We'll probably never do it again, but again, just needs must get through the game, put these guys in the best position to succeed. And we're going to get into the Leeds game, because I think a lot of what we saw yesterday was sacrificial lamb because of what we have coming up on the weekend and the way Leeds play and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just want to put like a bow on this. I don't think that Tuchel covered himself in any sort of like glory after that game. We should have won it. Probably could have won it still, but I really do want to hammer home the point that, like, you have to put young players, inexperienced players in the best position to succeed. And playing Ross Barkley and whatnot out of position just doesn't really work.
I'm just looking at Bex's comments here, because you're saying, I think that given the state of the squad with the injuries and congested upcoming fixtures, Tuchel probably thought that if there was any game to try out these new things this month, it would probably be this game. But I think this game was really important. Like, not massive, but it was, because we were sitting top, but we wasn't like comfortable in top. You play that kind of team when you're qualified and the person that's second's nowhere near you, like Liverpool did against AC Milan. That it didn't make no difference because they were there. It doesn't matter if they lost, draw, or whatever. But a draw or a loss and the Juventus win put us in second, and I just don't think that was the right time to make that many different,
maybe
changes.
not that many. Like, I have no problem with experimenting 1 and 2 here and there, but like the fact that he went with like 4 or 5 different changes and players not playing in comfortable roles. Like, even if you play Sal Niguez, I have no problem with the fact that he play him in a role that he's familiar with. Like, play him in the midfield. It made no sense. It's no sense to me. We're talking about, and he actually touched on it too. He said, like, well, when I played him in Southampton and against Aston Villa, those games were high intensity and fast, and he couldn't come to grips with the pace. The Watford game was similar. And this wasn't that. So traditionally in the Champions League, you don't get like these helter-skelter up and down games. So you thought that if you thought that he couldn't handle the pace and the power of the Premier League, then probably a Champions League way game where it's less pressure because we've already qualified would have been an opportunity for him to play in the midfield and just see if he can build on the performance there. So I was really disappointed with the selections, and then the inability to recognize that we needed to change that midfield. It was just a gaping chasm, So.
But he's done that a number of times, though, I think, this season, where he should have made substitutions well sooner, and he's not done that. And I think he needs to do that. I think there's something he might need to work on himself, maybe when to make the right decision to switch. And all the great managers know when to change something when it's not working. Mourinho done it so many times in games where it wasn't working. He would pull people off like 30 minutes in if he wasn't what he was saying. Do you know what I mean? So here's what it is.
We did see him sub a sub one time, which is quite interesting. But generally, I think we need to be. I'm not going to be harsh on him because we're still very much in contention in all the competitions, and he's had to manage a squad that is riddled with injuries right now. So he does get a bye with me right now, but this game at the weekend is paramount now. He's made a lot of questionable decisions because he's thinking about this Leeds game. And who do you expect to see come back, or who do you expect to hold their place with the Saturday fixture?
Well, the whole thing of Ruben Loftus-Cheek apparently not playing because of whatever's not been confirmed yet, but potential injury is a bit of a worry when you think about all the problems we've got at the moment. I actually thought he wasn't playing just because of Leeds, and I thought he probably thought, you know what, we're the Premier League's a more important game, which is fair enough. But I don't know. There's a chance that Mateo Kovacic might be back. He has been out for the last couple of days because of having COVID. He did say it was only going to be a couple of days, so hopefully.
Have we heard anything about Conte yet? Like, he's not really giving an update. Like, I remember when he first got injured, he coming days he'll be back. You know, he didn't really give a timeline, but he just days rather than weeks.
No, it's turning to weeks. He's still got a knee injury. That's what I've heard. His injury still. He's not even he's not even trained properly yet as well. Right. So I don't think we can think of Kante anytime soon. But Jorginho, is he going to be fit and ready for the next game? I don't know. Maybe it has to be. I mean, there's a good chance that Kovacic and Jorginho could both be there for Leeds. You know what I mean? Which would be great. Great news for us.
If I'm not mistaken, Kovacic has to have 2 negative tests before he can go back to training, right? And
changed again since yesterday.
Know.
But other than that, I want to see Thiago Silva. And we didn't speak about Thiago Silva, but I want to see this guy playing 90% of the games. I don't care if you think he's too old and he can't play. He's been playing back-to-back games quite comfortably. This defence can't tick without him at the moment. He just can't. Like, we need leaders. We need people that are going to raise the levels. We need shouters. We need... he even scored goals, didn't he? Like at West Ham, he just comes, he's just there. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's everything. You know what I mean? He's literally so important to this system. Rudiger has to come back in. I expect them two to come in.
Absolutely.
I don't know if Christensen play. I think Chalobah's apparently meant to be back as well, which is a good thing as well. Because I think defensively we look quite good when them three are together at the back. So I think we need to
might be able to get him some minutes in the midfield if.
Well, that's an option. If we play Christensen as a right centre back, and I'd say Kovacic ain't fit and Jorginho's back, then at least we can play them two together and put Reece James out on the right if Ruben's injured. So I think we really have to wait till tomorrow and see what he says on the press conference, who's fit, who ain't. It will be interesting to hear, but we can't be going into that game with the same amount of changes that we made in Zenit going into that league. I don't care if it's Leeds. They will give us more problems because they will come in our face. They won't give us time. They will shut us down quickly, and we've got to break the press, right? Mm-hmm. So if we've got the players like Sal and Barkley in the 60 able to do that, that worries me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. The key to breaking any press is Jorginho for me,
and Kovacic.
Kovacic, press resistant for sure. And of course, Thiago Silva coming back in the middle, just being that calming presence and a guy that like never gets rattled, even when he's in a position where, he's being hurried or, being pressed. He's just so calm and on the ball. And like, I agree. If he has to say he cannot play another game before I don't want to see him play because he provides the right sort of leadership. Like if you played Thiago Silva next to Malang Sarr, I bet you Malang Sarr would have been fine. I'm not even kidding. I bet you would have been fine.
No, I agree.
You just need a real boss to dictate what you're supposed to be doing on the pitch. This is where you need to be. Move up. Track that runner there. I got your back. That sort of communication was just lacking. And I guarantee you have a Thiago Silva and you put anyone next to him and their level rises. It just rises, right?
100,000.
So I agree. He needs to play. I think
do you go with the same system 3-4-3 or do you want to go back to a 3-5-2?
Yeah, I mean, it depends because the midfield right now is just ravaged. So maybe you go with one holder, like Jorginho as a holder, and then 2 8s. Ziyech looked all right in the midfield. The last few times I've seen him, I know we played that 3-1-4-2, and Ziyech was in there, and he didn't look out of place to me. So potentially that could be a shape that we can utilize, but I don't know if that's the best for breaking a high press, just because I think that we're so accustomed to playing in that 3-4-3. We know where the rehearsed movements are to break it. So, but if you don't have the personnel that understands the procedure for breaking the press, like if you only have Jorginho and then you have to play him with Sal Niguez, for instance, I don't know if that's going to be effective either. But I think that our strength is going to be being on the front foot, like pushing them back. And it might come down to playing a 3-1-4-2 just to have more attackers on the pitch.
That's what I was going to say. I think if Kovacic, Ruben, say we've only got Jorginho, let's just say Jorginho is the only one that's fit that can come in. I would switch system and just play a 4-1-2-1-2.
4 at the back?
Yeah. No, sorry, 3, not 4 at the back. 3-1. 3-1. Is it 3-2? Is it? No, 3-1. I can't get it mixed up now.
Yeah, 4-2.
3-1-4-2. That's it. Yeah, 3-1-4-2 with Jorginho sitting in front of the 3, and then just your 4 in front, just being Reece James and whoever, Alonso on one side, and then in the middle you could have Mount as one of them, getting back and helping, and the other one could be, I don't know, whoever you want. It could be a Ziyech if you want next to him. You could put a Barkley there. At least he's a bit more forward. He'll enjoy that more further up the pitch. You're playing to their strengths then, aren't you? Because they're not relied to they'll have to get back, but not as much as playing in the 6 role in that system. And then you could have whoever you want up front. Pulisic.
Well, it'd be Werner on form. It'd be Werner and Lukaku right now.
Yeah, no, but I would like that. But at the same time, then you got to think of people that have been playing well in the 3 system, like Cho as well. Like, can he get back in the team in a forward line? Pulisic.
After that, the effort in that last game makes me think he's got to watch this one from the sidelines.
Yeah.
Like the effort, I know it wasn't playing his preferred role, but you can never not have the effort on the pitch. No. The ability to care about what's going on,
Yeah.
So I don't know what just happened, by the way.
We just glitched.
Yeah, I did not do anything, folks. So just kind of happened. Yeah. But yeah, I would like to go. I want to play players in form, and I think that Werner and Lukaku are starting to build on some sort of chemistry, and no reason to drop them after what I just saw.
Well, Leeds can't defend. If we're looking at Leeds right now, like they can't defend, and if you've got Werner and Lukaku playing on the break in their faces, that's a nightmare for them. I don't care. Like they're not going to enjoy that. You could argue Kai Havertz maybe gets a shout, maybe up there and plays with maybe Lukaku, maybe, or Werner and Havertz. Lukaku comes on second half, maybe. There's options, man. We've got options. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
and there's also, if I'm not mistaken, like Calvin Phillips is out for this game, right?
They've got no Calvin Phillips. They've got no Jordan Bamford. They've got no Raphael. They've got who else have they not got? They've got a couple key players that play.
Yeah, so this is a game that we should be looking to take it to them, because, and again, maybe the 3-1-4-2 is the way to go about it, because not only will we be able to pin them back, but inflict some real damage in that final third. So
we saw that goal difference out, mate. Too many goals in the last couple of games. 6 goals in 2 games is not Chelsea. That ain't Chelsea material. No way.
But again, we can't. Like I was talking to somebody about this the other day. We're talking about like our defense not being sound all of a sudden. I just think it just comes down to injuries. Like you don't defend with 3. You defend as a team. And like when you're missing your midfield and your preferred wing backs aren't playing and stuff like that, you're gonna leak goals. So I'm not really too concerned about it, but I do need to see a return to the performances that we were having earlier.
Well, we've got 2 home games next. We've got Leeds and Everton. Leeds and Everton home, and they're both not in great form, really. Let's be serious. So we need to. There's 6 points there that we should be getting, and we need to get, especially now that we're sitting in 3rd, because I know Liverpool have got quite a challenging game. Next game, I think it is, or the game after that. So yeah, we'll see.
I'm not sure who they play. Who are they playing?
Let's have a look.
Okay, let me see if I can pull this. Liverpool play Aston Villa at the weekend.
There you go. That's not going to be easy, is it? They've got Aston Villa, and
they're going to smash them.
Well, no, they've got.
And then they got Newcastle.
They'll beat them. Well, you say that Aston Villa are playing well at the moment under Gerrard, so I wouldn't say that being an easy game, to be honest. And then they've got
I hope
Spurs.
you're right.
They've got Spurs as well, haven't they? They've got
Yeah.
Spurs, Leicester, and Leeds. That ain't easy, is it? They've got Spurs, Leicester, Leeds, Leicester, Chelsea. So we've got to be there or thereabouts on the 2nd before the 2nd of Jan when we play them. So or be ahead of them. So we have to see what happens.
Yes, indeed, Jem. Always a pleasure, brother. Let's do this again. I guess we got what? We got another midweek next week. Who's it?
Games are coming thick and fast, mate. That's all.
Hell yeah,
especially
man.
this December.
Crazy.
So
what is the
games.
next game after Leeds? I can't quite remember.
Leeds, Everton, Wolves.
Everton. Okay, so maybe we do a midweek after the Everton. Hopefully with some good news, folks. Yes, QNN TV, Wagwan Rubwai, Debot, yeah, man. So let's conclude it here. And guys, thanks again. Likes, subscribe. You know where GNA TV is. Hit him up. Jem's the man. QN TV, always the man. There's all sorts of great Chelsea content out there. If you aren't already aware that, if you're into Chelsea, you're gonna like these streams. So, likes, follow, subscribe, all that stuff, and you know what to do. Until then, keep the blue flag flying high and up the Chels.